Hi, my name is Josh Guzek, and I'm a senior here at Purdue. Today I'd like to talk about knowing your strengths and the concept of leading without a title. When I mention leadership, what kinds of people come to mind? Presidents, directors, team heads? These are all examples of leaders, but what about those who lead without a title? Those who step up and take on a task or challenge, even when they don't have to. Throughout my time at Purdue, I've had the pleasure and privilege of belonging to many groups, in some of which I've held leadership titles, and others I have not. That hasn't stopped me from trying to take opportunities to lead, however. In fact, I found that those times I've led without a title tend to be some of the most rewarding. This is because I try to view leadership as a service, a concept sometimes referred to as servant leadership. In the All-American Marching Band, this has become somewhat of a household name. While there are various tiers of leadership positions throughout the band, we're all expected to understand the idea of servant leadership and leading without a title. If someone is struggling with something, for example, a complicated rhythm or position on the field, we're expected to help them through it rather than automatically deferring to section leaders, or far worse, just letting it continue. This camaraderie continues outside of rehearsals too, and that's no accident. Even though we spend so much time together working to perfect a show, we all tend to hang out and become very close friends. I believe that fostering a strong sense of community is essential for a team to be effective in its goals, and something I strive to do whenever I can. While I wasn't a leader with a title in my section, I saw an opportunity to strengthen the ties between us last semester. I grew up in Northwest Indiana, just a few miles from Lake Michigan and the beautiful Dunes National Park. I wanted to share this place that means so much to me with my section, so I planned a trip up during fall break. My parents graciously let over a dozen of us stay a night, and we got to swim, kayak, hike, and enjoy each other's company during one of the last nice weekends of the year. It was fantastic to get to share a part of who I am with my section, and they expressed much appreciation in return. Leadership doesn't have to be tedious and bureaucratic, though sometimes it definitely is. It can just as well be as fun as organizing a trip with your friends. Similarly, as a fundraiser for my band service fraternity, last semester I put together a pie bro event after marching rehearsal one day. Band members got to smash plates of whipped cream into the faces of volunteering brothers, including one of our drum majors. We didn't get to have this last year because of COVID, but it's one of my favorite events and always a huge hit. Even though it was ultimately a fundraiser, my real goal was to put together a community-oriented event for my fellow band members. And yes, I too got pied and in stride. While I encourage you all to strive to step up and lead without a title, I know that can be intimidating. At Purdue, I've definitely felt my fair share of imposter syndrome. In fact, I was pretty reluctant to participate in this chew on change. If you aren't in touch with your strengths, check back in on them. Just search Purdue My Strengths, and you should be able to see a report. Two of my strengths include learner and input. I believe these go hand in hand because they relate to seeing the value and advantage in taking what others think to heart in a useful way. I found that my learner strengths has been especially helpful at Purdue because I tend not to be afraid to try and learn new things and have new experiences, even if one class single-handedly knocked my GPA down by 1/10 of a point. My top strength is restorative, which suggests that I may be good at solving problems. I think learner and input really show their influence here because when I encounter a problem, be it a difficult project or trying to mediate a tense, dramatic situation, plenty of those in band, I always start by looking at the big picture and taking all stakeholders into account. I believe this is my top strength for a reason, and I think those around me can see that too. Treating leadership as a form of service has also led me to working with an amazing small group called Boilers in Action out of civic engagement and leadership development. In this organization, we're all sorts of leaders without titles. We assign tasks based on skill set and preference and complete them mostly independently. We coordinate various days of service throughout the academic year focused around environmental and social justice. Last semester, we got to work with the Wabash River Keeper to organize a cleanup at a few locations along the river near campus. And this semester, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we had another day of service dedicated to food justice. We had volunteers build garden boxes, help out at a local food pantry, and put together hygiene and winter kits for those experiencing homelessness, all in support of community organizations outside of Purdue. Last year, because of the pandemic, we had to shift gears pretty swiftly in order to meet our goals as an organization. Despite this, it was a unique challenge and we pulled through. We focused a lot on voter registration and had a virtual panel with local activists and even a former member of Congress that focused on environmental justice during winter break. In Boilers in Action, and especially civic engagement and leadership development, a huge goal is developing our strengths as leaders. I can really see the effects of this and have definitely gotten more in touch with my strengths over the years. This has been extremely helpful to me, and I'm very thankful for the opportunities I've had. Shameless plug, we can always use more helping hands. Before I leave, I'd like to remind you all to treat yourselves kindly. We all have weaknesses, but we all have strengths as well. Especially in group settings, knowing what you're good at is a great way to build an effective team. And don't be afraid to talk about it. Be confident in your strengths and be open to addressing your weaknesses as well. Communication is key. In BIA, Band, and all the other groups and organizations I've been in, I've really found that this approach builds trust and fosters transparency. I know that's a lot of buzzwords, but I've seen it happen and I've seen it not happen. I encourage you all to be mindful and look for ways to lead, even if you don't feel like it's necessarily your place. Here at Purdue, or wherever you end up in the future, your value as an organization is intrinsic in that you are strong. You have the power to make a difference when and where you see fit. Thank you.